You're going through a handful of old pennies, maybe from a coffee can on the top shelf of a closet, maybe from a jar your grandfather kept on the dresser for years. Ordinary change. Nothing special. But suddenly, there it is. A 1981 D. Lincoln penny. Light catches it. Something feels different. And your stomach drops because you realize you might be holding a coin worth over $1 million. It almost doesn't feel real. But this is the world we live in. A world where a single coin struck more than 40 years ago can change everything. Let's begin with the moment that shook the coin world. A collector in Colorado walked into a small estate auction. Not a famous one. No dealers buzzing around. Just quiet tables and old boxes being sold off from someone's attic. In one of those boxes was a plastic tube of pennies. Almost no one looked at it twice. Except him. He took it home, opened the tube, and there it was. A 1981 D. Lincoln penny, so flawless, so untouched by time. It looked like it had been frozen in place the day it left the Denver Mint. That coin would later be graded at the highest level any 1981 D had ever reached. And it sold for over $1 million. The shockwave that rippled through collectors was instant. People who had been tossing these pennies aside for years suddenly began searching. Because the 1981 D isn't rare in how many were made. It's rare in how perfectly one survived. Millions were struck. Almost all went into circulation. Pockets, piggy banks, soda machines, car ashtrays. And that's the key. They were used. Used hard. Scratched. Worn. Forgotten. But a few, just a few, slipped away before they could be touched by everyday life. And that's where your story comes in. Before we go further, take a breath. Reset your attention. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't something most people know. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million comes down to condition, composition, and minute striking details the average eye never sees at first glance. Let's talk composition. The year 1981 was on the edge of a major shift in U.S. penny history. Most pennies up to that point were 95% copper. But soon after, production switched to a copper-coated zinc planchet. Copper is heavier. So first test. Place your 1981 D penny on your palm. Feel the weight. A genuine 1981 D should weigh about 3.11 grams. If you have a small scale, check it. If it's significantly lighter, around 2.5 grams, that means something unusual happened. And unusual is where million-dollar stories live. Now, flip it under a strong light. We're looking for something collectors call full red luster. This is where the penny glows, not just shiny, but alive with a copper fire. Most pennies from the early 80s have darkened to a brownish tone. That's natural oxidation. But the million-dollar examples? They look like they were struck yesterday. If your penny looks like that, it's a contender, but don't look away yet. Reset your attention again. The next part is the one almost everyone misses. Turn it so the mint mark, the D, sits under the microscope of your eyes. On some of the rarest surviving 1981 DS, the mint mark appears crisp, well-defined, and raised in a slightly sharper way than usual. Why? Because the die used to imprint the mint mark was punched more cleanly on certain examples. These tiny differences create what collectors call elite strike quality. And it's these elite strikes that grading companies like PCGS and NGC chase when assigning the highest grades. Most 1981 D pennies grade somewhere between worn pocket change and average uncirculated. But the ones that break into the MS67 Plus, MS68, or the nearly mythical MS69 category, those are the ones that cross into million-dollar territory. Not because they're old, not because they're rare in mintage, but because they survived in a state of perfection that almost no coin should. Now imagine the backstory. Picture when this coin was minted. Denver Mint. 1981, machines thundering. Sheets of copper planchets rattling through feeders. Workers sweating under fluorescent lights. A coin is struck. Thousands per minute. And yet, among those thousands, one coin leaves the press flawless. No scratches from the hopper. No contact marks from other coins. No uneven strike. A perfect imprint of Abraham Lincoln's profile, clean, sharp, defined. It takes more than luck. It takes impossibility. Yet it happened. And if it happened once, it could have happened twice. Let's reset again. You in your drawer. Maybe you have pennies passed down from a relative. Maybe you've been saving change your whole life. Maybe your father kept a jar he never sorted. When he handed it to you, Maybe he didn't know what was inside. Maybe he couldn't have known. But maybe he left you something extraordinary. Take your time when searching. Look under bright light. Use a jeweler's loupe or even your phone's magnifier. A mostly untouched surface with no visible scratches, a blazing copper-red color across the entire coin. Deep, crisp lines in Lincoln's hair and beard, no dulling. No flatness. Nowhere to weight around 3.11 grams. A sharp, clean D mint mark. If all these align, the next step is grading. Do not clean the coin. Do not wipe it. Do not try to make it look better. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Place it gently into a coin flip or soft holder and send it for professional grading. That is how fortunes are proven. Let's reset again. Because the emotional core of this story is larger than just the coin. Everyone dreams of finding something. Everyone dreams of discovering a piece of history that others overlooked. The 1981 D. Lincoln penny is proof that ordinary objects can hold extraordinary miracles. The idea that a penny, something tossed on sidewalks, found under car seats, could be worth more than most houses, that's the kind of story that makes collectors' hearts race. And it's real. It's already happened. More than once that we are still discovering examples. They are still out there, not in museums. Not locked behind glass in elite collections. In jars, in drawers, in boxes, in pockets. People save pennies. They get forgotten, stored, passed down, moved. And somewhere in all of that movement, the perfect one sits untouched, waiting for the moment someone finally looks closely enough. This is the story of the 1972 no mint mark Lincoln penny. A coin that looks so normal, so ordinary, so familiar, that millions of Americans have touched it, spent it, lost it between couch cushions, and never knew what they were holding. Now, I'm going to say something that sounds unbelievable, almost like a tall tale whispered at coin shows and passed down between old collectors. But it's real that a single 1972 penny has sold for well over $1 million. And yes, there is a reason, but to understand it, we have to go back to a moment of confusion, secrecy, and one of the United States Mint's most dramatic mistakes. 1972, gas is cheap. Elvis is still performing. The Vietnam War is dividing the country. The world is loud, uncertain, emotional. But inside a government minting facility in Philadelphia, another kind of pressure was building. You see, the mint was producing billions of pennies, a routine job. A job that had been done for decades. Nothing special, nothing too notable. But somewhere, during that year, a die, the metal stamp used to strike pennies, was created with a flaw. A flaw so bold, so visible, so unmistakable, and yet somehow missed. When this flawed die struck the copper blanks, it produced what collectors now call a double die obverse. But that doesn't capture the drama, the shock, the visual punch of it. Because on this penny, the letters aren't just slightly doubled. They are dramatically doubled, as if someone stamped the words twice, slightly offset. Bold, powerful, immediate, all doubled, all clearly doubled. Not something you squint at under a microscope. Not something faint. Not something you imagine. You see it. But here's the twist. The mint didn't notice. Or if they did, they didn't pull them. They were released quietly, casually, unknowingly, into circulation. Pennies like this didn't go into vaults. They didn't go to museums. They didn't go into the hands of wealthy collectors. They went into pockets, lunch counters, payphones, piggy banks, into the real world. And here's where things get personal. Because the only reason this coin is valuable, truly valuable, is because so many people walked right past it. Let's reset our attention for a moment. Imagine you're standing in a dusty attic. An old coffee can sits in the corner. Inside, a mess of pennies from the 1960s and 70s. You hear the metal softly shift. It smells like time, like memories, like the hands of people who are no longer here. One of those pennies could be this penny. Now, collectors discovered the coin years later. And once they did, the legend began. People started searching, rolling through banks, examining every 1972 penny they could find. Some found them by accident. Some found them because of luck. Some found them because of pure determination, and the prices rose. Not slightly, not modestly. They exploded. In pristine condition, what collectors call mint state. These pennies can reach life-changing values. And yes, one example crossed into million-dollar territory. Let me teach you exactly how to identify it. First, your penny must have no mint mark. That means it was made in Philadelphia. If you see a D or an S under the date, it's not the one. Next, hold the coin up under a good light. Look at the words, "In God we trust." Then look at Liberty. Finally, examine the date 1972 that you are looking for strong, clean doubling. The letters should look like they are shadowed, or like someone stamped them twice. It will be bold, obvious, and clear that if you have to guess, then it's not the one. The Real double die is unmistakable to the naked eye. There are other minor double dies from 1972, over 10 varieties, in fact, but the one that makes headlines, the one that has set records, is known as Variety 1. Collectors call it dramatic, bold, striking. Some even say it looks like the coin itself is vibrating with history. Reset your attention again. Let's reflect on something deeper. Coins are strange objects. They pass through the hands of strangers, soldiers, store clerks, children buying candy, teenagers saving for their first car, parents paying bills, lovers sharing moments in cheap diners. These pennies have seen life, and this one, this rare, doubled, $1,000,000 penny, may have traveled across the country. It may have been part of thousands of lives. It may have stories inside it that no one will ever know. It could be anywhere right now. In a coin jar under your sink, in your dad's old dresser, in a forgotten tin in your garage, in the pocket of a coat you haven't worn in years. That's why collectors are still searching. Because this is not a lost treasure locked away. This is a treasure hiding in plain sight. Think about that. A coin worth over $1,000,000 sitting quietly among ordinary pennies. And here's the emotional part. Every collector knows the feeling of hope. The feeling that the next coin might be the one. The idea that your life can change, not through luck, not through chance, but through curiosity, through paying attention. Some people spend thousands chasing dreams. All you need to do is look. Now let's reset one more time. You have seen pennies your entire life. They feel almost meaningless. People drop them on sidewalks and don't even bother to pick them up. But imagine the power of something so humble, being the key to something so incredible. Imagine the moment you realize the coin in your hand, something you've ignored for years, is worth more than $1,000,000. Your breath catches, your hands shake, your life freezes, because in that instant, your world changes. This is why collectors search, because treasure is real, because miracles don't always glitter, because sometimes the universe hides life-changing fortune in the smallest and simplest things. Take a moment. Think of all the pennies you've ever tossed aside. But in real, life-changing reality, that is the mystery of the 1969 no mint mark Lincoln penny with a double die obverse. A coin so rare, so quietly powerful, that most people have walked right past it without ever knowing what they were holding. And today, we're going to talk about how to recognize it, how it came to be, and why so few people even know it exists. It's late at night. A coin collector sits at his kitchen table, a basic desk lamp casting a warm glow. He's sorting pennies for fun, the same routine he's done for decades. Flick, 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 one coin after another. And then he stops. He leans in. His heart jumps. Something looks different. Letters that appear doubled, numbers that seem to ripple, a face that almost shifts when tilted under the light. He had found the impossible. That penny went on to sell for over $1,000,000. He didn't get it at an auction or from a dealer. He found it in everyday change. Most people don't believe stories like that. They say, if something like that were real, everyone would be looking. Everyone would already know. But that's the thing. Only a tiny fraction of the public knows what to look for. Even many coin collectors have never truly examined their 1969 pennies closely enough. And that's why this coin continues to appear in surprise discoveries. The story begins in the late 1960s, a time of enormous change in America. The country was tense. Protests, uncertainty, new ideas. And in the middle of all this, the United States Mint was running at full power, producing billions of coins to keep the economy moving. Among those billions, something extremely unusual happened. In 1969, a set of coin dies were prepared with a mistake. An accidental doubling caused when the design was imprinted twice in slightly different positions. This wasn't a minor shift. This wasn't something only microscopes reveal. This doubling is dramatic, bold, obvious once you know where to look. And because of that, when these coins began turning up, the government panicked. Yes, the government. You see, at first, Officials thought these coins were counterfeits. They believed someone was altering or stamping fake pennies to trick collectors. The Secret Service got involved. Some early owners of these coins actually had them confiscated. Imagine finding $1 million coin, only to have it taken because authorities didn't understand what it really was. The doubling on the 1969 penny is not subtle. This is not like the 1983 double die, or the minor ones you need magnification to see. On this 1969 double die, the date looks like it has a shadow, a ghost, a second version of itself. The letters Liberty look like they are echoing outward. The phrase "I in God we trust" appears thick, strong, almost vibrating. Now here's how you identify it. And listen closely because this is the heart of everything. First, the coin is from 1969. It will not have a mint mark. If you see a little D or S under the date, that is not the one. The rare coin has no mint mark. Next, tilt the coin under a light. Look specifically at the date, the word Liberty, and "I in God we trust." You are looking for what appears to be doubling so clear that you can see it with your naked eye. It will not look like wear. It will not look like a slight blur. It will look like the numbers and letters were printed twice. Finally, look at Abraham Lincoln's profile. His image should appear normal. The doubling is on the letters and numbers, not his face. If Lincoln's face itself looks doubled, that is something different. This combination is unmistakable. And if you see it, your heart will stop for a moment. We all dream of that one moment that changes everything. A phone call, a decision, a chance. But sometimes, the moment that changes everything is already sitting in your home. A coin jar, a drawer, a coffee can filled with old pennies. The 1969 no mint mark double die penny doesn't look rare. It doesn't shine. It doesn't announce itself. It waits. Quietly, collectors have found them in circulation decades after they were struck. That means they are still out there. The odds may be small, but someone always wins the jackpot, right? Someone always catches the rare fish. Someone always finds the thing everyone else overlooked. You do not need expensive tools to check for this coin. You do not need years of training. You only need patience, a good light source, and the willingness to look. Look at your pennies, especially the ones from the 1960s, especially those from 1969. Millions of 1969 pennies were made. But only a microscopic fraction have this doubling. And that is what gives this coin its power. Scarcity, mystery, demand. There are collectors, right now, who would pay life-changing money to own one, because they know what it represents. A miracle born from a mistake. One of these coins sold for over $1.6 million at auction. Not all examples will reach that number, of course, but even lower-grade ones can bring tens of thousands. And high-grade examples? They are among the crown jewels of American coin collecting. This is not just about money, though the money is certainly real. It is also about the moment of discovery, the rush, the realization that something overlooked by millions was seen by you. There is a story of a man who had one of these coins for years, without knowing it. He kept it in a small box of coins he thought were interesting. One day, he saw a news article that mentioned the doubling on the date. He took out his coin, tilted it under a light, and his entire life changed in less than 5 seconds. Because when the right coin meets the right knowledge, everything shifts. Pause the world for just a little while, and look, because the universe hides extraordinary things in ordinary places, and sometimes, the greatest treasure doesn't need to be found across oceans or buried underground. Sometimes, it's already in your home. But because it's one of the rarest mistakes the U.S. Mint ever let slip into circulation. And it happened in 1979. Stay with me. Because once you hear this story, you'll never look at spare change the same way again. Back in 1979, the U.S. Mint was on the edge of a massive transition. Copper prices were rising. The government needed to cut costs. They were quietly experimenting behind closed doors with new metals for the penny. Lighter materials, cheaper materials, test strikes, trial runs, prototype planchets. None of this was supposed to leave the facility. These were secret coins, coins never meant for the public to know about. But in the chaos of production, with millions of pennies being pressed every day in Philadelphia, a tiny handful of these experimental pieces slipped through. No mint mark, just like every other Philadelphia penny. No warning, no sign, nothing to suggest they were different. Most 1979 pennies are solid copper, weighing about 3.11 grams. But the experimental coins were struck on early zinc-based planchets, which the mint wouldn't officially switch to until 1982. These secret coins weigh closer to 2.5 grams. They look just a little brighter, a little sharper. They ring differently when dropped. And they are so rare, so unbelievably scarce, that collectors don't just want them. They chase them. They obsess over them. They pay life-changing money to own one. A few of these have surfaced over the decades. One graded in nearly flawless condition is valued around $1.7 million. Let that land for a moment. A penny. 1 cent turned into a fortune. But here's where the story gets even stranger. Many of the people who found them didn't know what they had at first. They didn't discover them in a fancy auction. They found them in their spare change, in old jars, in inherited coin boxes from parents and grandparents who saved pennies because you never know. For years, these fortunes were hiding in plain sight. First, pick up your 1979 penny. Make sure there is no mint mark under the date. It should just read 1979. No D, no S. Just the year. Now feel the weight. A normal copper penny feels solid, slightly heavy for its size. But these rare experimental pieces feel just a touch lighter. Not flimsy, just different. If you have access to a small digital scale, this is the moment that changes everything. Normal weight, about 3.11 grams. The rare $1 million type, closer to 2.5 grams. Next, look at the color. The copper-coated zinc pieces often show a brighter, almost glowing red tone when well preserved. And when they age, they sometimes don't darken in the same way solid copper does. And then there's the sound test. Drop it lightly on a smooth tabletop. A solid copper penny gives a dull, short tap. But these experimental ones? The sound is slightly sharper, almost like glass tapping tile. It's subtle, but once you hear it, you'll know. Every few minutes, someone in America empties a drawer and pours out a jar of coins collected over decades. And every single time, there is a chance, maybe small, maybe microscopic, but still real. A chance that one of these unbelievable mistakes is sitting there, waiting to be noticed. Think about the man in Ohio who found a rare transitional penny in a jar his father kept for 40 years. He almost spent it at a gas station. But something made him stop. Something made him look closer. And that decision changed the rest of his life. Collectors don't just love coins for metal or age. They love them for what they represent. History. Mystery. The unbelievable idea that treasure is still out there in the world, not locked away, not guarded, but hiding where anyone could find it. Every time your hand touches a penny from 1979, that possibility exists. That extraordinary things can still be ordinary. That impossible fortune can still be stumbled upon by complete accident. That luck, fate, chance, call it what you want, can still change lives in an instant. The mint never intended these coins to escape. But they did. And now they're out there, somewhere, scattered across kitchen counters and coffee cans, waiting for someone who knows what to look for. Check the date. Check the weight. Check the ring. Don't rush. Don't assume. Because the next person who discovers one of these hidden pieces of history might not be in a rare coin shop. They might be someone just like you. But in that jar, hiding in plain sight, could be a coin that changes everything. A 1965 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, worth up to $1.8 million. Let that sit with you for a second. A coin you've probably handled 100 times without even noticing. A coin that looks so normal, so dull, so everyday, that most of America still has no idea what makes it different. What makes it special? What makes it historic? But some collectors do know. And they're hunting. Quietly. Carefully. Patiently. Because this isn't just about a coin. It's about a mistake. A moment. A secret that slipped out of the U.S. Mint during one of the most dramatic periods in American coinage history. And you're about to learn exactly how to recognize it. The year was 1965. The United States Mint was under pressure. Silver prices were rising fast. Too fast. The government knew it couldn't keep producing silver coins for much longer. Panic began spreading. People hoarded silver coins. Banks saw shortages. The mint was scrambling. During this time, the mint did something unusual. Something that would open the door for one of the most valuable penny mistakes ever recorded. From 1965 to 1967, the mint removed all mint marks. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco. It didn't matter. Every coin left the facility blank, without any identifying mint letter. The idea was to stop collectors from hoarding new coins based on where they were made. So yes, every 1965 penny has no mint mark, but that's not the million-dollar secret. No. The real story is what happened behind closed doors, because while the mint was switching from silver coinage to clad coinage, something slipped through the cracks. A handful of silver planchets, leftover blanks intended for earlier dimes, somehow ended up in the machines that struck pennies. And when they passed through the Lincoln cent dies, the result was a tiny number of 1965 Lincoln pennies struck not on copper, but on silver. Imagine a penny shining like a dime. Wrong metal, wrong weight. Completely unintended. A coin the mint never meant to exist. Now take a breath. Attention reset. Let's talk about what that means for value. When a coin exists because of a major minting error, especially during a historic transition period, collectors don't just want it, they hunt for it. They chase it. They bid for it. They fight over it. Only a few verified examples of this silver 1965 penny have ever surfaced. And every time one appears in an auction, the numbers climb higher. Tens of thousands. Hundreds of thousands. And yes, in private collector circles, offers have reached well over $1.8 million. Life-changing money. Sitting in someone's pocket change. Now your heart should be beating just a bit faster. Because this is the part where most people say, wait, how would I even know if I had one? First, grab a scale. A simple one. You can get one online for less than the price of lunch. A normal 1965 penny, the kind made of bronze, weighs about 3.11 grams. But the rare error penny, struck on a silver dime planchet, weighs around 2.5 grams. Sometimes a little less, but never 3 grams. Second, look at the color. It should not look brown or reddish like a normal penny. It should look silvery, more like a dime. A soft gray tone, not shiny chrome, not polished metal. A natural, subtle silver look. Third, listen. If you flick a normal copper penny on a table, it makes a dull click. But if you flick one struck on silver, it rings. Gently, brightly. A tiny bell in the palm of your hand. Fourth, compare the edge. The silver planchet penny will have a clean, uniform edge. No signs of copper layers inside. Just one consistent metal tone all the way through. Finally, consider thickness. A dime planchet is thinner than a penny. So the coin may look just a touch slimmer than a standard cent if you find all of these signs together. Stop everything not clean the coin. Do not polish it. Do not touch it more than necessary. Place it carefully in a soft container or coin flip. Then have it authenticated by a reputable grading service. This is where dreams become real. A man in Ohio found one in a literal junk drawer while cleaning out his late father's belongings. He didn't think much of it at first. It looked strange. Lighter. Brighter. He weighed it. 2.5 grams. He sent it in. When the results came back, he had to sit down. The coin was real. Offers came in immediately. And I want you to imagine his face in that moment. From overlooked penny to life-changing fortune in seconds. Another collector found one in a coin jar his kids used to play pirate treasure with. The kind of jar most people donate to a Coinstar machine without even looking. It became the most valuable thing he had ever owned. Let me reset again. Stay with me, because you need to understand this deeply. This isn't about luck. This is about awareness. This is about paying attention to what others ignore. This is about slowing down just long enough to notice something extraordinary hiding inside something ordinary. Most people don't believe treasures exist in plain sight, but coin collectors do. That's what makes this hobby thrilling. Every pocket of change is a mystery. Every drawer is a vault. Every forgotten jar is a time capsule waiting to be opened. Now, one more critical detail. There are other off-metal errors from 1965. Some pennies were struck on nickel planchets. Some on clad dime planchets. Some on bronze with unusual compositions. All worth good money. The silver strike is the holy one. The one that turns heads. The one that has brought in million-dollar offers. The one most collectors will never see with their own eyes. You could be the person who finds one. Let that thought settle. Let it stir something in you, because treasure doesn't call out. Treasure waits. Quietly. Patiently. Hidden behind routine and dust and assumption. Go to your drawer. Your closet. Your old coffee cans. That box you haven't opened in years. The one filled with coins you keep telling yourself you'll sort through someday. Someday is today. Look for 1965 in mint mark, as expected. Because here's the truth. People spend their entire lives searching for opportunity. Imagine reaching into your pocket for a simple penny and realizing you're holding something that could change your entire life. A coin so rare, so quietly hidden in everyday circulation, that most people toss it aside without a second thought. But you? You're about to learn something most collectors will never know. That a 2002 Lincoln penny with no mint mark could be worth up to $1 million. Yes, a single cent, struck over 20 years ago, hiding in broad daylight, could be a gateway to a fortune. Now, listen closely, because this is not just another coin story. This is a treasure story, a mystery story, a story about how something unbelievably valuable can be disguised as ordinary, waiting patiently for the one person who pays attention. The year is 2002. The U.S. Mint is producing millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies. They're everywhere, in pockets, in jars, under car seats, in cash registers at gas stations across America. Nothing about them seems special. And for most people, they never would be. But somewhere in that massive run of production, something unusual happened. Not an error everyone notices. Not something flashy like a double die or an off-center strike. Something quieter, almost invisible. Something that would only be discovered by someone patient, observant, and maybe just a little bit lucky. Machines stamping copper-coated zinc blanks. Thousands per minute. Workers monitoring, but barely able to see every detail. And then, for reasons we still can't fully explain, a small batch of coins left the dies with a difference. A difference in striking pressure. A difference in metal composition. A difference in how the details came out. These differences formed a tiny group of coins with sharper details, richer luster, and an unmistakable crispness around Lincoln's profile and the lettering. Especially the date. These coins didn't receive a mint mark. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just the plain 2002 date. And because so many pennies from Philadelphia also lack a mint mark, almost nobody noticed. They went into change. They went into coin rolls. They went into pockets. They went into penny jars. They lived entire lives unrecognized. And that's why this coin is so special. That it wasn't protected, that it wasn't stored, that it wasn't saved by collectors, that it was used. Now imagine how few could still exist in high grade. Pennies rub, they scrape, they get tossed around. Every touch, every jingle in a pocket, every slide across a counter takes away detail. That's why finding one of these in pristine condition isn't just rare. It's like finding a needle in a field of needles. Somewhere, somebody turned one in to be graded. Maybe they were curious. Maybe they were lucky. Maybe it was pure chance. But when the grading result came back, it shocked everyone. The sharpest details. Deep, blazing original luster. A strike so bold that the fine lines in Lincoln's hair and the texture of his coat appeared almost three-dimensional. And when the auction hammer fell, that penny sold for a life-changing sum. A number that turns heads. A number that makes your heart pound. Over $1 million. 1 cent becomes a dream. Now I want you to pause. Feel this moment. Because the difference between you and the person who found that penny may only be awareness. They knew what to look for. Now you will too. Take a deep breath. Then look closely, because here is where everything gets real. 2002. No mint mark beneath it. That means it came from the Philadelphia Mint. Next, look at Lincoln's profile. The jawline should be sharp. The nose should be crisp. The lines separating the coat from the shirt should be distinct. Almost like they were carved, not stamped. Tilt the coin under the light. A real high-quality strike has a certain glow, not shiny like chrome, but warm, clean, and deep, as if the light is settling inside the metal instead of bouncing off it. Now look at the lettering. Focus on the Liberty and In God We Trust. On a regular penny, these letters can look dull or slightly mushy around the edges. On the rare one, the edges look tight and razor-sharp, like they were cut with precision. Then, flip the coin over and study the Lincoln Memorial. The pillars should be sharply separated. The steps should be clear and distinct. The tiny statue of Lincoln inside the memorial should be visible, not as a blur, but as an actual shape. If your coin matches all of that, it could be valuable. Very valuable. And if it is still bright with original mint luster, no scratches, no fingerprints, nowhere around Lincoln's cheek or jaw, then you may be holding something that changes everything. But here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. Most of these coins, if they still exist, are probably sitting in old jars, in coin rolls, in glove compartments, inside envelopes where someone long ago wrote, "Keep these pennies." They could be anywhere. Anywhere in America. Maybe in your home. Maybe already in your possession. This is the moment where hobby becomes discovery, where curiosity becomes possibility, where someone's ordinary day, your day, turns into a story you tell for the rest of your life. You're sitting at your kitchen table, a cup of coffee, a handful of spare change. You sort through the pennies one by one. Your heart is steady at first. Then it jumps. You see the year, 2002, no mint mark. You hold it closer to the light. The details are sharp. Your hands shake just a little. You think, no way, not me, it can't be. And then the realization hits you. These coins weren't saved. They circulated. They hid in real life, among real people, in real pockets and drawers and jars. If $1 million penny can be found once, it can be found again. You don't need a metal detector. You don't need a rare coin shop. You don't need luck. You just need to look. Every penny is a lottery ticket you don't have to pay for. Every coin is a secret waiting to be read. Every moment is a chance to be the person who didn't look past the ordinary and miss the extraordinary. The next time you hold a penny in your hand, don't dismiss it. Don't drop it. Don't toss it away. Turn it. Study it. Respect it. Because the universe hides miracles in plain sight for the ones who are ready to see them.